Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're tuning in, chances are you've been studying English for years. You probably know the grammar rules inside out, you read complex articles with ease, and you understand native speakers perfectly fine. But when it's your turn to speak, you completely freeze. Well, today, our mission is to fix exactly that. We're going to transform you from a frustrated, passive learner into a confident, active speaker by utilizing some incredible modern tools, building daily micro-habits, and just totally shifting your approach. We are going to build your personalized English fluency blueprint. Okay, let's dive into this. Why does your mind suddenly turn completely blank the exact moment you have to actually speak? It feels like all those years of vocabulary just vanish, right? Leaving you staring like a deer in headlights. I want to validate that frustration right out of the gate. This happens to almost everyone. And guess what? It is absolutely not a sign that you lack ability. It's simply a sign that your brain is used to translating rather than communicating. Essentially, you're treating English like a textbook subject to be passed, instead of a physical skill to be practiced. So, to get you out of that textbook trap, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the fluency frustration. Then, consistency over intensity. Next up, your AI language partner, followed by real-world live practice. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the 2-week plan, which is going to give you a super concrete outline you can start using today. Let's start with Section 1, the fluency frustration, and why traditional learning is holding you back. To really understand why we get stuck, we have to look at the old school ways of learning. There are a few massive traps we all fall into. The biggest one, trying to learn way too much at once. We've all been there, trying to cram 100 random words into a single day, or just grinding through complex grammar rules for hours. It just leads to total overwhelm. Another huge mistake is hyper-focusing on grammar while actively avoiding real speaking because you're terrified of making an error. You stay silent, waiting for that absolutely perfect sentence to form in your head, but perfection is the enemy of communication. And finally, there's the classic binge study exhaustion. You cram for 2 days, skip the next 5, and then wonder why you're not improving. Trust me, your lack of progress isn't your brain, it's just the wrong method. Moving right along to Section 2, consistency over intensity, the sheer power of daily micro-habits. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mindset shift we have to make. We need to completely rewire how we view practice. On one side, we have the old weekend warrior approach, grueling over grammar for 3 hours every Sunday. But the new way? Just 15 to 30 minutes of focused speaking practice every single day. The data is super clear on this. Short daily practice is infinitely better for your memory. It keeps your brain fresh. It totally prevents burnout. And most importantly, it actually builds the neural pathways required for spontaneous speech. Showing up daily for just a 15-minute quick session is going to yield massive results compared to those exhausting once-a-week study binges. I absolutely love this quote from our sources. Progress is not only about doing more. Sometimes progress is about letting go of the idea that you must be perfect. Remember, slow progress is still progress. Trying, even imperfectly, is always better than staying quiet. Honestly, if you wait until you have the perfect grammar to speak, you are going to be waiting forever. Give yourself permission to be human, to make some mistakes, and just let the words flow. All right, Section 3, your AI language partner, building confidence in the solo sandbox. So how do you actually start speaking if you're way too nervous to talk to a native speaker? Well, we live in an incredible era where you can build baseline confidence in a completely judgment-free space. Think about those simple foundational questions. Things like, what time do you get up? Or what did you do last night? You can use modern AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini's live voice features and just feed those basic introductory questions right into the AI. Tell the app to ask you these questions one by one. It simulates a super easy, stress-free daily conversation. It's available 24/7, it doesn't judge your accent, and it literally never gets tired of practicing with you. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly specific and actionable these prompts are. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just tell the AI, act like a kindergarten teacher and speak slowly. Boom, stress instantly lowered. If your mind goes totally blank, use this one. Ask me 10 questions and give me sentence starters. A starter like, my favorite food is, completely bypasses that panic freeze response. And hey, when you want to track your progress, just ask the AI to score my English using CEFR. It's basically like having a private, highly customized tutor sitting right in your pocket. However, we do have to be a little realistic about this solo sandbox. While AI is totally revolutionary for drilling pronunciation and building basic confidence, it has one major flaw. Solo practice gets skipped after week 3 in almost every single case. Why? Because there's zero accountability.
It is way too easy to just close your laptop or delete the app when it gets hard.
Which brings us to Section 4, Real-World Live Practice. Making the live leap. To truly close the fluency gap, you eventually have to step out of that sandbox. AI is perfectly predictable. Humans are definitely not. Live practice is essential because it builds conversational fluency under actual stress. There is no AI equivalent to that slight nervous sweat you get when talking to a real stranger, right? When you connect with real experts on platforms like Inverta or tutors on Italki, you develop spontaneous reflexes. You learn how to pivot naturally when you don't know a word. Plus, a human expert gives you real-time error correction and nuanced social cues that AI just can't replicate yet. Getting repeated exposure to real people speaking English is literally the only way to permanently overcome that dreaded freeze response. And finally, Section 5, the 2-week plan. Your step-by-step roadmap to confident speaking.
So we know the pitfalls, we've got the tools, and we understand the mindset. Let's move to and see how this builds a rock-solid foundation, starting with week 1. This first week is entirely about building habits and just getting your mouth moving. First rule, you must listen to English daily. Podcasts, explainer videos, anything to get the natural rhythm in your ears. Second, stop memorizing single words. Seriously, learn complete phrases. Instead of just learning the word busy, learn the entire chunk. I'm really busy today. It is so much easier for your brain to recall on the fly. And third, speak out loud every single day. Narrate what you're doing in your room or use the shadowing technique, where you listen to a native speaker and immediately repeat what they say to match their natural intonation. Once those habits are locked in, week 2 shifts your brain into active generation. Now we want you to start actually thinking in English during mundane, everyday tasks. While you're walking the dog or making coffee, narrate it in your head. This stops you from actively translating from your native language. Next up, pull out your phone, record yourself speaking for just 1 to 2 minutes, and then force yourself to listen back. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's incredibly effective. Practice telling short little stories about your day to connect your vocabulary. And finally, seek out real-life situations. Send voice notes to your friends, jump onto a live tutoring call, and put that real-world pressure on yourself.
So, the crucial point is this core truth right here. Confidence does not come before action. It comes from action. So many learners sit on the sidelines just waiting to feel ready, waiting until their grammar is utterly flawless. But it's a trap. Every single time you speak, every time you stumble, recur, and keep going, you are actively forging that confidence. You are proving to your brain that you can survive the conversation. Which leaves us with one final provocative question as we wrap up this explainer. Are you going to keep waiting to be perfectly ready, or will you start speaking today? You've got the tools, you have the 2-week plan, and you now know that just 15 minutes a day is all it takes to see massive changes. Stop waiting. Fire up that AI app, call a live tutor, or just start talking out loud right now in your room. Your future fluent self will definitely thank you for starting today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.